Anyway.
But with me now is the presidential candidate, Ron DeSantis. Not a lot of sleep last night. He's with me in California now. And, sir, wanted to squeeze you in here and get your reaction to the events of last night. However, I want to begin with the hearing that we have right now on the president. Do you support the investigation into President Biden and his son?
Absolutely. This family is potentially the most corrupt presidential family in history. Joe Biden's already lied about the business dealings. We know that. We now see $250,000 going to Biden's address from China. So this stinks to high heaven. They're right to do it, and I support it. I would also point out that, when you talk about things like impeachment, one of the things is just violating your oath of office. And I look at what's happening at the southern border. He took an oath to support and defend the Constitution, make sure that the laws are faithfully executed, and he has absolutely defaulted on that obligation, and we see the carnage that's happened. So I think there's a whole host of things to look at, but certainly this corruption is real. They need to produce the goods, of course, but where there's smoke, there's fire. And here's the thing: if all this was on the up and up, I don't think he would have been lying about it for all these years.
Now, we'll see how Republicans go during this hearing. Let's talk about last night quickly, okay? I thought one of your better moments was the top of the second hour when you were talking about education and your experience in Florida as governor. And then you went into...
yeah, when he said he's going to ban the Chinese from attending universities, I thought that was fire, man. Thank you. I love that.
What I think many would consider a rare moment. You talked about your military service. Watch here.
Wait, what?
Had a lot of opportunities to make money, but I wanted to serve, and I'll never forget coming back on the plane from Iraq, landing in Coronado, California, North Island, and feeling that breeze off the Pacific Ocean and say, you know what? I am lucky to have been born an American, and I think being able to serve, and I'll be the first president elected since 1988 who's actually served overseas in a war.
Governor, the reason I wanted to play...
Bro, he was a lawyer. He was a lawyer in the military. All he had to do was just say, yes, this kind of torture is legally permissible. That's what he did. He acts like he fucking saw combat, dog. Yeah, the only thing he fucking served was papers. I'm not, dude, if he wasn't a Republican, dude, God, Republicans are allowed to do this shit. Republicans are allowed to do this shit, and it's so annoying to me, okay? Because if John Kerry, who, was literally a Purple Heart medal recipient, okay, was destroyed, and they said, oh, your fucking Purple Hearts are probably fake, dumbass. Fuck you, I bet you're gay. Ron DeSantis should not be allowed to fucking act like he was, diving out of Black Hawk helicopters. I hate that. I hate that so much. John McCain was a prisoner of war, and Trump was successfully able to say, hey, look, I like my fucking heroes that weren't captured, To be fair, I feel like the Arizona moderates did not like that. And they loved it they love John McCain so much that they've been punishing the Republican Party mercilessly since, but I mean, think about it. I hate John McCain. I think John McCain's a fucking idiot. Who gives a shit? Well, I also think he's a based anti-imperialist hero that dropped many imperialist pig dog planes. But he said that, and then Arizona was like, okay, fuck you. All right, let's ball. Fuck it. We ball, dude. Arizona is the never Trump Republican state.
Play that is because some Republicans have been critical of you because they believe you lack a bit of a personal touch. But that answer was different. Why'd you go there?
Well, Bill, I think sometimes people want to know more.
Damn, dude. Did you guys notice how he took the dick out of his mouth to ask that question for 1 second? That's wild. He's like, dude, a lot of people criticize you for being impersonal and like a lizard person, but you really came across as personable when you lied to everybody on the debate stage about how, like, you were fucking serving and saw active duty in combat.
About you. Now, my view on typically running, I want to tell you what I'm going to do for you. But when you're in a presidential situation, people kind of want to know what drives you. And, I just pointed out I was a blue collar kid working minimum wage jobs. I ended up getting degrees from Yale and Harvard Law School, come out more conservative than when I went. I had a lot of opportunities to do very well financially. And coming from blue collar roots, I think most people would have took that. But I felt the obligation to serve. I left a lot of money on the table, but being able to wear the uniform, volunteering to go to Iraq, it's an important part of who I am, and I think as commander-in-chief, it will inform my judgments about how to do it. And then it was just interesting being back in California, where that was where we had deployed from, and that's where we came back, and so it brought back a lot of old memories. We actually did an event on Sunday night at the VFW in Coronado, so we had a lot of great veterans, and people are appreciative to have a veteran running for office.
Let me try and squeeze in a few more before we get back to this hearing. In debate number 1 back in Milwaukee, you didn't go after Donald Trump, but last night you did. Why?
Well, he's missing in action, Bill. This is something you have to earn. Nobody is.
Dude, they are trying so hard. They're trying so hard to pump my man's stocks, dude. It's crazy. Like, he didn't do shit. He, like, barely snubbed Donald Trump, like, twice. Like, wow, remember when you daggered Donald Trump and destroyed him? Like, you hadn't done that before. It was really cool when you did that. Why did you do that? And it's like, did he do that? Is that the takeaway from anyone that watched that fucking debate? I don't think people are gonna. Like, I get it. Donald Trump is the god, right? He's the GOAT. He's the OG on the block. So obviously, like, any kind of criticism of him is seen as like way more aggro than it would. But like. Like, Chris Christie's been out there dying to get pot shots at Trump, and nobody on Fox News gives a fuck. The one time DeSantis is like, where is Donald Trump? Why is he not here? Everyone's like, oh man. Fox News is like, man, that's sick. Thank God. You did great, Ronnie boy.
Is entitled to this. I remember back in 2020, I had a big party in Tallahassee for that first debate that Trump did with Biden. And the reality is Biden beat Trump in that debate. Biden, and I don't know how you could lose to Biden in a debate, but that happened. And so we're in a situation now where we're not getting a mulligan on the 2024 election. We've had 3 election cycles in a row as Republicans where we've underperformed. Not in Florida. We set the standard in Florida. We got to get this right. We see the country's in decline. We can't just be content with managing this decline. We've got to reverse it. We need an American revival. I think what we've shown in Florida is that it is possible to do. President Reagan was somebody, when he came in, because we were at his library, people said it couldn't be done. We're in an era of limits, that the Carter performance was basically optimal at that point for America. Ronald Reagan rejected that, and I'm rejecting that here right now, and I have the ability to get the job done. So he owes it to the voters to defend his record, to defend the decisions he's made, and also to defend why is he running on the same program in 2016.
I don't get it. Defend his record. You can't, on the one hand, claim your record is fire in Florida, and that's why you're winning in Florida, and then simultaneously be like, Trump needs to defend his record. You're Trump. You're literally, like, your appeal in the national politics sphere comes from you trying to be Trump. It's so bad.
16 that he did not actually implement. For example, draining the swamp. He didn't fire Christopher Wray. He didn't fire Anthony Fauci. He didn't do anything to clean house. Now, all of a sudden, he's going to slay the administrative state when he gave Fauci an award his last day in office. What about all the spending and debt? They racked up massive amounts of debt, particularly in his last year in office. Of course, you're going to end up leading to inflation when you do that. So I think on issue after issue, he owes it to the voters to come out and do it. And I'd say the final thing, Bill, he's had a lot to say about me on social media, really since 2022, right before the midterm election. He started attacking me when we all Republicans were supposed to be united for a red wave. No, he tried to attack me and has been doing it a lot. You know, it's one thing to do it behind a keyboard. Step up on stage and do it to my face. I'm ready for it. You used to say I was a great governor. Now, all of a sudden, you're saying the opposite. Let's have that discussion, and I'll do it. We could do it one-on-one. I was with Sean last night. Let's do that, and let's give the American people the choice that they deserve.
You may not get that opportunity. I'm not sure if he's going to participate in any of these primary debates, but we'll see. You saw the polling numbers in this past weekend from NBC and ABC. You know what the reality is. You trail him in some cases significantly. I've heard you speak.
Yeah, but that's when you get into these early states, Bill, it's very fluid. And you've seen this. You talk about those polls. They say 20% are definite Trump, 35% in Iowa are definitely not, and the rest are considering Trump or others. And so you can look at a poll, but a lot of these voters are just now starting to pay attention. So the idea that you take a poll.
Yeah, totally. Famously, Trump is a newcomer to the field. So what you're saying is totally relevant here. You know, because no one knows who Trump is. Like, they're paying attention to him for the first time ever. Hey, idiot. You're so fucking stupid. That only works if you got two presidential prospects that have never run for president before. Okay? That argument goes out the window when you have like a built-in incumbency advantage. As the former president. What do you mean? Like, he's literally looking at polling to be like, well, a lot of people don't know. They're just not paying attention. It's like, yeah. Them just not paying attention works against you in a serious way. Why? Because so far, every single time you have appeared on camera, your approval rating has gone down. Okay? You're trending downwards. Because people, when they do find out about you, despise you. People already know Trump, and they've already made up their minds on Trump. So 35% of Iowans say, we're not voting for Trump. You're fucked. That means the rest of them are like, oh, we're voting for Trump. Unless a unknown who people are introduced to is so likable and so unique that some of those people turn around and say, all right, you know what? Fuck it. This guy's who I'm going to vote for. Look at that. Look at that, dude. His favorability has tanked. The more he's on camera, the more people are like, you're gross. Please stop. You're disgusting. It would be hilarious to see Trump absolutely annihilate DeSantis face to face. Ronnie wouldn't come up to Trump's chin. Just no show that the squeaky voice loser ever breaks 20% in an actual vote. Yeah, 100%. That's the other side of it, which is like, be careful what you wish for, Ronnie. Like, Donald Trump would fucking eviscerate him. How could you fail as a conservative? You literally just have to play culture wars. No, you can overplay your hand with culture wars, for the record, which Ron DeSantis literally did. If you want to understand how to fail as a Republican, look to what Ron DeSantis did. One, he is pathetically unlikable. And every time he talks, people fucking hate him. Two, he hit the culture war button so hard he actually forgot what the culture war was for. The culture war is supposed to be a distraction that allows you to act like you're different than the Democratic Party as you do everything in your power to pick apart the federal government or the state government and deregulate industries and allow corporations to continue bringing in record high profits. Cannot, under any circumstances, especially not as a Republican, turn around and actually use the culture war narrative to a degree where you end up using big government initiatives to hurt the most successful business in your fucking state. Like, Rick Scott was literally like, dog, what are you doing? You're going way too far. Does Florida actually hate him? I think Florida has a massive influx of reactionary migrants. Like, and I don't mean like, Cuban and Venezuelan asylum seekers. I mean like Californians and shit, or people from Iowa and Ohio that like move into Florida, even though there are reactionary migrants that come into Florida as well. But I'm talking like hogs from Ohio that are like, hell yeah, brother, I want to go to the free state. So I think that it doesn't really matter how bad Ron DeSantis is. Like, they love him. But I do think that some of the policies that he's pushed for at the state legislature are too distracting. And it's all dependent on like how people feel in Florida. Like, are they suffering under the economy? Do they perceive his like abortion ban to be way too far? They should. I think that like his another misstep for Ron in Florida was when he did the anti-immigration thing, which ended up hurting agriculture and construction in the state. Where like a lot of immigrant workers were just like, okay, I'm not showing up to work. I'm fucking leaving the state. And it seemed like a lot of people were frustrated with that. Like, there's a lot of stuff that he does that people get mad about.
In September, and then you disenfranchise the voters' ability to make things, make their choices. I can tell you this, in Iowa and New Hampshire, those voters expect you to show up. They expect you to participate in the process, and I think he's running a risk for his candidacy by not doing it. Obviously, he'd be running a risk by getting on the stage because it's not been something he's been willing to do, but you owe it to the voters to get up there and defend your record.
I've heard about your strategy in Iowa. You're trying to get to all 99 counties, and that should happen sometime this fall. Let's see when that does happen. On foreign policy, I've listened to your some of the positions you have taken. But however, on Ukraine, last night you said there should be no blank checks. As you're aware, there's a debate within the Republican Party, especially in the House now, about how much aid should go to this current war. When you say no blank checks, are you suggesting that there is support on your behalf for those Republicans who think we should pull back from the aid that we're giving to Ukraine?
Well, as I understand, a lot of those Republicans, they're making the point of, how do you do that while ignoring these massive problems here at home, for example, with our own southern border? And I also think an issue that was kind of raised last night, we didn't get to flush out, is Biden's policy is basically Europe first. He is not doing what he needs to do to deter China in the Indo-Pacific. He will say, and some of the people on the...
Wait, what? Biden's policy is Europe first, not fucking Indo-Pacific first? Are you so dumb that, like, you've lost your mind? Brother, like, at first I was about to say, okay, doing a decent job dancing around the Ukrainian issue because, like, it's not popular, generally speaking, and it's certainly not popular in the Republican base of support, which I told you months ago that this was going to be the case, and a lot of you at the time were sending me poll results about how popular help to Ukraine is, a couple months back, I told you that like during the election cycle, Ukraine and money to Ukraine is going to be an issue that Republicans will be against. Now, having said that, that's understandable. It's understandable to take like a more wishy-washy position on this, because on the one hand, you have the interest of the military-industrial complex, which you need to maintain to win any election, really, and that's where the Ukraine money is going to, and also some American industry as well. Wait, what? You said that Ramaswamy fucked up because Republicans don't support Russia? No, man. Republicans don't support Russia, and they don't support Ukraine. They don't give a fuck. How do you not understand what I'm saying? If you turn around and say, oh my God, I love Russia, actually, Russia's doing the best in Ukraine, you're gross. It is basically the difference between having a psychotic opinion on trans issues and having no opinion whatsoever. Okay? Most people just have apathy towards trans people, for example. They think like, yeah, trans people are kind of weird. I don't really understand it. Ew, like, I don't want to think about it. Once you move beyond that point and you become the children's genitals are being mutilated kind of guy, then you're gross. You're gross. You're icky. Same goes for pro-Russia positioning in the Republican Party. Okay? If you're a Republican, it makes sense to you to say, why the fuck are we giving so much money to Ukraine, dog? This is crazy. Okay? We should go and I don't know, invade Mexico instead. Republicans look at that and go, you know what? You're right. Border wall for me. If you become the pushing Z guy and you're like, actually, we got to do everything we can to ensure that, you know, Ukraine, which means the border, by the way, actually belongs to Russia and should belong to Russia, then you're a freak. You're a psycho. What the fuck? Why do you care about this? Ew, get away from me. Now, of course, the inverse of that isn't true. If you are that invested in like pro-Ukraine, you're not going to come across as weird as the pro-Russia guy, obviously, because Russia is the USSR. It's communism. There's too much Red Scare propaganda associated with Russia in the same way that there isn't really with Ukraine. So Ukraine is like a relatively new thing for Americans. So the way that they look at it, if you're pro-Ukraine, that's fine. Like it's understandable. A lot of media has been cut in that direction. Like, people don't think about it beyond the real reasons as to why NATO operates in the region or what Ukrainian demands and needs are, whether Ukrainians are dying or not. You know what I mean? They don't care about any of that shit. Russia is not USSR, little bro, is such a funny take to tell me. Okay, you think I don't know that? I'm talking about the way that the average American feels about Russia. That's why I've always made fun of Republicans who are like extra stupid, because like after a century of Red Scare propaganda and hating the USSR and hating Russia, you turned around and started loving Russia because like of a couple Telegram channels where like a bunch of dudes, okay, a bunch of dudes living in like fucking Hungary sent you text messages saying like Putin is actually killing trans people and he's defending Western civilization. Like that's how quickly you rewrote. That's how quick it was for you to fucking override like 100 years of Red Scare propaganda that like now they swapped that fast from that's the ultimate bad country to the good country. You are like a uniquely stupid person in that situation. Anyway. So as far as like Ukraine goes, like when he was saying like, oh, we shouldn't do a blank check, like that's actually good messaging for the Republican primary. Okay. It's not bad messaging for the Republican primary, but then he turned around and was like, Joe Biden is going Europe first. and not Indo-Pacific first. Like, are you fucking stupid? Just say China is bad. Just say China is bad. They're trying to fucking steal our lunch money, and that's why we got to stick it to them. You don't have to talk about, like, the strategic interest that America has in the Indo-Pacific Sea. Like, what are you, fucking stupid? No Republican Fox News watcher is, like, looking at that and going, that's right, actually, I don't like that Biden is pro-Europe instead of pro-Asia. Like, are you stupid? Or are you trying to cut propaganda for fucking Joseph Robinette Biden here? Like, they're going to be like, Europe, there's a lot of white people that live there. Asia, I don't really understand what the fuck they're saying, so I think maybe not too bad.
On the stage will say that the way you deter China is to continue Ukraine indefinitely, basically a blank check. I actually think China would benefit from a multi-year quagmire. I think we need to bring that war in Europe to a conclusion, but we have to do more in the Indo-Pacific. We don't have adequate hard power. So if somebody like Xi Jinping is looking at a Taiwan amphibious invasion, he's going to calculate what the resistance is. And if we have a strategy of denying him an ability to do.
Real quick question for like liberal and liberal adjacent people in the chat who like oftentimes chirp at me about like my opinion on Taiwan or my opinion on Ukraine or whatever. What differentiates your perspective than like Ron DeSantis, for example? Like, because he's saying China bad, China wants to take over Taiwan, we have to do something, we have to beef up our hard power. And I genuinely want to know, like, what is your actual perspective on the matter that like differs from both Ron DeSantis and Joe Biden? Or do you just think that these guys are right, that China is trying to take over Taiwan and we have to, you know, do hard power? Like, is that what your perspective is? Like, it doesn't come as a surprise to you at all that, like, you and the American State Department are completely aligned and both sides have their own version of cutting that propaganda so that you can, like, find your own, like, choose your own adventure style way of defending the same exact opinion? Because, like, Democrats will say Taiwan is gay as fuck and China is, like, homophobic and they want to kill all the gays in Taiwan. So then Democrats are like, oh, we got to liberate Taiwan because, like, you know, that's what we care about. Republicans will go, we have to fucking flex our military might against China because China is actually, like, stealing our industry and stealing our IP or whatever the fuck, right? And they're scary. They're Asian. Like, look, they look different than us. Ew, yuck. Like, we have to kill them. And then Republicans are like, hell yeah, brother. Like, say no more. I love that shit. So there is something for everyone in the United States of America if you want to defend the and align with the American foreign policy. I know this because I was an Ameribu growing up in Turkey who watched it happen for Iraq. I watched it happen for Afghanistan, but most importantly, I watched it happen for Iraq. Okay? I saw it. I saw the justifications for why Operation Iraqi Freedom was a necessity. It was a Republican administration that was doing it, but the way they sold it was we were bringing democracy to Iraq. There was always a perspective that you could hold on to. There was always a genuine reason as to why we have to do whatever the fuck America is doing around the world. And it doesn't matter what your point of view is. Like, there is, like, tailor-made propaganda. Taiwanese media has completely brainwashed the older generation. My dad, for example, is a hardline conservative and thinks Trump will save Taiwan. My generation sees economic cooperation as the only way to maintain status quo. Also, DeSantis is discussing he's using this point to boost himself. Okay, this is a good take. This is Show Sleepy ZZ, who I've duked it out with a little bit over Taiwan. This is like an actual good take. Similar thing is happening in Vietnam as well, from what I understand, despite the fact that, like, Vietnam is very different in their ideological worldview than Taiwan is, and yet, like, Vietnam also thinks that, like, China is sticking it to Trump is sticking it to China. But yeah, Economic cooperation is the way to continue in an effort not to rock the fucking boat, which is my perspective on Taiwan, which is the also prevailing overwhelming majority perspective in Taiwan as well, because any kind of deviation from the norm is going to ruin people's lives. It's going to ruin Taiwanese lives. And America's involvement is just across the board bad, because it's not done for genuine purpose. Do you think the U.S.-Taiwan interest has more to do with proxy war stuff or the existence of semi-autonomy of TSM? I personally don't think the U.S. government gives a fuck about the Taiwanese. No, they care about the semiconductors. Important. That's really important. It has strategic importance. You know what I mean? And then beyond that, it is a really good way for America to just like kind of hold over and bully China with. Like, remember what I said? You can pick and choose your own adventure in the same way that like there will be people from every background that get enough defenses that somehow always suspiciously align with the current American foreign policy. Not 20 years down the line, after all is said and done, and we notice the impacts are devastating. But right now, okay, this is precisely what I mean. As a socialist, I don't think we should allow the Ba'athist Party to continue gassing the Kurdish people. Kurdish people are socialist in northern Iraq, and I think that we need to be aligned with them. And the best possible way to develop an autonomous Iraqi region for those socialist Iraqi Kurds is by invading Iraq and absolutely eviscerating its infrastructure. I'm a socialist, and I just gave you a socialist reason as to why America should socialistly invade Iraq. Did you notice that? Did you notice what I just said earlier when I told you that there is a pick and choose your own talking point / adventure that anyone can do to defend America's foreign policies? Do you get it? You're doing that right now. You're literally doing the example that I just gave you. Autonomous Iraqi Kurdistan isn't remotely socialist. Man, I was making a joke. I know that it's not. I'm saying that fucking you can find. It doesn't matter. It doesn't have to be real for someone to like hold on to like the hope that America's foreign policy this time around is going to be positive. Do you not get that? Anyway. The other chatter replied, what did they say? I don't want to get too far into like debating and stuff because it's unproductive in general. Yeah, instead of one more lane, our foreign policy is one more country. Yeah, this time it's real. This time it's good. And the older I get, the more I see that. Because, like, I've now lived through the this time it's actually good and necessary argument multiple times now. Like, you know, you had it with Libya. You had it with Iraq. You had it with Afghanistan. You had it with Ukraine. Like, it's always a, no. This time it's a necessary war. It's actually morally righteous. Like, our conquest is morally righteous this time. Is precisely what we're doing. And the irony is, like, we've also gotten so good at fucking outsourcing that we're basically outsourcing the hurt. Like, at this point, Ukraine is the perfect type of battle. to engage in for the American government. And they openly state it. These people in positions of power openly say it, right? They're like, we are crippling the Russian military force, a foreign adversary, with 5% of our budget, with not a single American active duty service member dying. Like, that is, they're literally jerking around. They get to dump all the fucking weapons. They get to dump all of the fucking weapons into an area. They get to justify all the tax dollars spent on the military-industrial complex. Then they get to turn around and say, oh, no, we don't have any of the fucking old refurbished weapons that we gave. Now we need new weapons. So then we have to manufacture even more. And not a single American soldier dies in the process. It's fucking awesome. We have outsourced our imperialism in a certain way. Like, obviously, the Ukrainian defense and Ukrainian emancipation is a worthy, just cause, okay? But if the goal on at least one of the actors on the one side is never-ending war and conquest because they don't see any negative consequences from it and only see positives from it, America, okay? And the other side, Russia, wants like bloodthirsty land grabbing and is willing and able to throw bodies at the fucking problem, okay? You continue this forever. You can continue this as far as like Ukrainians can keep going. Defense of Ukraine is not a bad thing, no matter how you frame it. It's a good take. I love that. You're right. But that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is our investment is important. Our genuine perspective is important. If your goal is not true Ukrainian emancipation, which it is not, it's not harm reduction, which it's not, and it's simply to fucking throw every Ukrainian at the problem because they do genuinely want to defend Ukraine against Russian forces, okay, then you're going to do whatever it takes to continue the fucking war. You don't give a shit. You're not going to apply pressure, for example, or push the conversation in the direction that you want it to go to, for example. At which point, I find it rather gross that like America sit around and go, no, man, we're actually doing the right thing. We're actually doing a great thing from far